In a world that's forgotten how to overcome and thrive, one man reminds us what grit looks like. Come along with Tomer Klein, the blue-collar Jew, as he explores local and global issues, problems, and most of all, solutions with a Torah and Jewish mindset, reversing much of the misunderstandings of Jewish ideology. And now, your host of the Blue-Collar Jew, Tomer Klein.
And we are back. This is Tomer Klein, host of the Blue Collar Jew. And on this week's show, I wanted to go over some stuff. You kind of see the state of the current affairs going on in the world. Not so much, we're not talking political, we're talking in the average everyday person. There's a lot of financial issues that's going on. And I think there's two sides that we can choose from. The first one is you can choose a side of ignorance, which is self-inflicted, meaning you have a active acceptance of an unsatisfactory situation, where you can choose the road less traveled, and that will also take you to the promised land. And that is acceptance. And one of the things that we're talking about is we accept our current situation, we come up with solutions to overcome and push through. And that is something that I've talked about many times on this show, about sound money, building a future for yourself, and a promising future also for your children. And a couple weeks ago, in the Parsha Bo, which means come in Hebrew, it has many levels to its meaning. And some of those levels, when we look at it, is when Hashem told the Israelites in Shmot, which is Exodus 12:35 to 12:36, he said specifically that the children of Israel, they requested from the Egyptians silver vessels, gold vessels, and their garments. They didn't ask for Bitcoin. They didn't ask for frivolous things. They asked for hard assets that can build foundations. And some of those foundations that we can build were one of building the nation of Israel, building the foundation of the Jewish people until this day. And in the short term, what they also built, because they used some of that gold to also make the golden calf, and that's what with the foundation of a delayed redemption that they were able to have by not being able to enter Israel for 40 years because of that sin that they committed. And I have a special guest today, somebody who I've been listening to for many, many years, and she holds a dear place in my heart. She partially reminds me of my Annie M. back in New York. And that is the one and only Lynette Zang. She is known for her exceptional wisdom when it comes to sound money and building a future for those generations. And Lynette, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
I'm very happy to be here, Tomer. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I have a question. We talked a little bit before the show, and the most important thing is, what's your belief and why are you doing what you're doing? I think that's a very important thing for people to understand.
Well, I think so too. And I have to tell you that I have been groomed for this moment in time. You know, I'm old enough. I was born in 1954, so I've been through more than I would have realized. But I was actually, I call it guided. Mm-hmm. When I was 4 years old, and I was told that I was supposed to do something that had a positive impact on a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I did not know what that was, but I do know that over the course of my long life now, I have been guided quite a bit to gather the experience and the knowledge so that today, as we're transitioning into a new financial system, I can help people understand what's happening so that they can make educated choices that puts their best interest first.
And some of those educated choices we're talking gold and silver. People often, it's not just jewelry, because jewelry, obviously, we don't make money. There's so much markup in the manufacturing of whatever pieces. We're talking hard assets like bullion, scrap silver, collectibles, and that's some of the stuff I want to go over. So, because a lot of people have a misconception. You'll see on these shows where someone will go in, they'll trade, or these YouTube clips where they'll take a necklace and they say, I paid $30,000, but there's $14,000 worth of gold there. And usually you see them freak out. They don't understand why they're only getting $14,000. What's the concept of spot price? And I know you're into collectibles. I'm actually going to be starting to buy some because I have enough of a reserve that I've already been buying over the years. And as I was saying before, I've been also listening to you for years. I did survive the '08 crashes that it happened. I still have the tube that I bought. I was like, I think $480 into 10 ounces. And now we've surpassed that substantially. And it sounds like we're going up again today.
Probably.
Yeah. But also, too, it's about the long haul. And I kind of want to go over that with you. What's the differences, as we were talking, with some of the different types of gold and what you believe in and why you believe in these types?
Well, first of all, let's back up because I think it's critically important that everybody knows, number one, what is sound money? What does that mean? Because we have not had it in our system since 1971. And that's to be honest with you, it's kind of questionable even before that.
Yeah.
But sound money is above all governments and central banks. It is, of course, the only money that is not a development of man or a creation of man. So that's really positive. But why is it above governments and central banks? And it's really quite simple. Because gold, physical gold and physical silver, gold is used in 33 different global applications around the world. Well, that's what global and world is. Silver has 36 different users. What do dollars have? One place, just the financial system. So gold and silver are above governments and central banks because they are universal and they have the broadest base of functionality and the broadest base of demand.
I would be interested when silver in particular, and I bring this up because in my trade, all of our microchips and our boards for these AC units, and I can tell you people, it's only going to get more expensive. It's getting more intricate. With all the smart technologies going out there, I've already seen, so we have this stuff called Silfloss. It's only 15% silver. It's what we use to braze and weld our lines together. And, it went from $120 about 3 months ago, and now we're pushing $300 just because it has 15% silver, which is mind-boggling. And I'm nervous on where it's about to go because I see $1,100 silver in the next 1 to 2 years, all because of just industrial demand such as that self. Because you'll probably be able to go into more depths, but we know that the last 5 years they've been shorting it, right? They haven't... Right,
selling what they don't have, but it's been longer than 5 years.
Really?
Because, yes. Now, here's one of my personal bugaboos. People refer to gold and silver when they're actually looking at a spot contract. Okay, and what people do not understand is that everything has been turned into a contract, and who's really determining... up to this point anyway, who's really been determining the price that you see are traders, right? This is not a true supply and demand market. And then when you refer to gold and silver in terms of dollars, it's because we have been taught to put value in dollars. But the dollars have no value. It's only your perceived value so that you agree to work for them, use them as your tool of barter, and try and save them. But originally, money was supposed to have 4 full functions. It was supposed to be a tool of barter. So if you give me this, I'll give you that. A tool of measure so we can price things. A short-term store of value so that you are fairly paid for your labor today. Right? And gold is a labor and savings-based money. We're trading labor. And a long-term store of value so that no matter when you use that money, it retains the level of purchasing power that it had when you generated it. Right? But that for governments was a big problem because gold was redeemable in the system. So citizens, if they did not like what they saw their government doing, could go into any bank, hand them over a $20 gold certificate, and pull an ounce of gold out of the system. And then what that did was it created restrictions around what governments could do. Governments don't like restrictions.
No.
They want to be able to tax and spend.
Well, they like restrictions for us.
Right.
They like restrictions for us.
Tober.
Yeah,
that's true. They do. And that's really where the direction that they're trying to take us. I'm fighting that direction. My personal goal is to get sound money back in the global monetary system again, but it must be redeemable.
Yes. And also, too, when you look at, they're trying to push like the digital dollar, they're trying to push to go digital in general. As we know, there's so many layers of dangers with that when it comes to if everything goes completely digital. They'll see what you're spending on. If I buy ammunition, is it going to be flagged in the system, and then they're going to make a big deal, and the feds are going to raid your house, that kind of thing. Because under certain pretenses, that could happen. That could be a real reality.
100%. Or they could even block your ability without you knowing that this was going to happen. They could block your ability to buy it.
Is that true? You know how in China they say they kind of have like a system like that, correct?
They certainly do. It is a social scoring system.
Okay.
And therefore you have to support policies. Though China's a really interesting case.
Okay.
But, and I think that China has been showing the world how to control a population. Though there have been times when there are breakouts in that population, and they're fighting it.
Like literally
right?
physical breakouts. You mean like they're pushing back against the system?
Correct.
Like Tiananmen Square type of events.
Correct.
Okay.
Or even quiet revolutions like the lay down revolution, where just like here in the U.S., people have been sold a bill of goods, the American dream. And the younger people that are graduating from college now and coming up are realizing that that's just a big lie, that inflation, which is really, let me say this, inflation is not a monetary phenomenon. It is a government debt-based monetary phenomenon, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, the population is in China, just like here, is recognizing the lie that if they go and they get a good education and they work really hard and they do this, that, and the other thing, then they can have a very nice life.
So what you just reminded me of, in China in particular, so the Chinese are the biggest buyers right now. We don't know how much they really have because
Correct.
with BRICS potentially coming out, which is funny that it started from a newspaper article. It was a made-up fictitious thing, and then it started becoming something. The Chinese in particular, they sent out to their population, and I think it's going to be for confiscation, that there's all-time highs on a private citizen level to also buy gold and silver. And when the big crash happens, my suspicion is they're going to actually confiscate, just like they've done here in the United States 5 other times. And when we come back from the break, we're going to go over that stuff. See you right after the break.
Do you have an old heating and cooling system in your home or business? Does it struggle to keep up in the middle of the summer and not really heat up your rooms in the winter? Hot spots, cold areas, dead zones with no airflow? Sound familiar? Klein Heating and Cooling has a solution. We offer a comprehensive free inspection to assess your exact needs in Arizona's demanding climate. This holiday and winter season, treat your family and home to the gift that keeps on giving. Comfort and savings year after year. Rising equipment prices aren't slowing down, but you can make the best investment now. Don't miss this opportunity to beat the increase. Call Klein Heating and Cooling today at 602-377-6520 and schedule your free inspection. That's 602-377-6520. Visit kleinheatingcooling.com for more information and to book online. Again, that's kleinheatingcooling.com, your solution for total comfort in every room and every season.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back after the break. Today, we were just speaking with the great Lynette Zang. She's in studio with us today. And we were talking about private ownership of gold, hard assets, hard currency, and how to fight potential tyranny. And we were just getting off the topic of what you see going on in China with private ownership and the government of China buying at record numbers. Also other countries. India is one of them, I know, Russia, because everyone's running to sound money. Because we've been living in a society of too much speculation, not real things. So where did this all start? Much of it has been brought up in the past, and that would have been the Bretton Woods Agreement. And Lynette, what was the implications of the Bretton Woods Agreement? How did that get us to where we are today?
Well, the U.S. was not part of the world wars, and so countries sent over their gold to the U.S. for safekeeping. And by the time the Bretton Woods Accord was put in place, the U.S. had more gold than anybody in deep storage, and we also had the largest and most intact military.
Yeah.
So in some ways it made sense. And where you hear my hesitancy is because it didn't start in Bretton Woods. It started in 1913 when they illegally or unconstitutionally, our leaders ushered in and legalized the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal, it is a private corporation, nor does it hold reserves because they make the money out of thin air. And by the way, it costs them virtually nothing to create bills. I mean, the physical $100 bill costs them 9.6 cents to create. Now, you and I have to work 100 times for that, right? 100 times harder because we've got to get the $100. But if you look at this is my very favorite website. You've been watching me. You see me use the Federal Reserve Education Department, the FRED, F-R-E-D. Anybody has access to it. I don't have special access. Go in there and pull up the purchasing power of the consumer dollar.
Okay.
Because people will look at the stock markets or the crypto markets or any of these markets like they're going up and there are more zeros on the end of it. But the reality is if you can only convert that into, in this country, dollars, but I don't care where you are in the world, this is true. Well, if all you can do is convert that into the fiat money, the government debt-based money that's losing value, and you know that because of inflation, then what have you got? The real trend is not going up. The real trend is how much you can buy with those dollars, and that's going down.
Yeah, definitely going. I mean, I see it in, like I was saying earlier, with my industry. 2019, right before, let's say, Corona hit, and all the wonderful policies that have been enacted since then, we don't even have to go into 08, which was a horrendous thing as well.
Well, we should go into 08.
Actually, we will go into 08. Basically, when I used to pay for a 5-ton 208 single-phase unit, I used to pay about $3,000, $3,100. Now that same carrier or train is mid-fives, so we're almost talking double, and nothing's changed. It's just they just flooded the market with all this free money that's really not free.
Exactly. No, it is not.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a free lunch.
Like there's no such thing as 2% annual inflation.
Well, really, what is 2%? 2% is robbing you of your purchasing power at a low enough level to create what central banks define as price stability. Now, if you and I heard the term price stability, we would think, okay, that gallon of milk stays the same over time, right? That's price stability, a stable price. But for central banks, price stability, this is their definition, not mine. Thank you, Alan Greenspan. That price stability is a low enough level of inflation robbing you of your purchasing power that you don't change your behavior. So you still go out and buy the car, the dress, or what have you. So these days, I'm not sure how much price stability there is because consumers are having trouble consuming. Because ultimately where we are, we have a zombie government, a zombie central bank, a zombie corporations, and zombie consumers. But going back to 1913, because that really is such a key date, and I have the evidence. If anybody wants it, they can contact you, and we will happily send them the link, or they can call us, and we're happy to provide the link. But this is when corporate debt became our money.
Okay.
Originally, and I didn't bring all my props because we don't have the visibles here, but originally this 1 ounce of gold has a face value of $20.
Okay.
Right?
So remember when just not to go off topic, but they priced it at $20 when they confiscated it from people, correct? 2021, and then they jumped it up to $34 immediately.
35 after 33, and that wasn't quite enough. But don't get too far ahead of the story.
Yes.
Don't get too far ahead of the story,
Yeah.
because what actually happened to they had a certain level of gold holdings, right? And so if you look, I have this chart from the beginning. I have all of this data from when they were creating the system and what they said. If people have to work harder to sustain their standard of living, they will have less time to pay attention to what we're doing. And boy, is that true today. But they took corporate debt and those became Federal Reserve notes. And they looked almost identical to the $20 gold certificate, which was created so that people, after all, if you have to carry all this gold around in your pocket, it could pull your pants down. It's so heavy, right, for convenience.
Yeah, they sell you on easy. And we know in life, and I've talked about this before on the show, easy is never good. Sacrifice is always the way. If you spend that little extra sacrifice, a little more skin in the game, it outweighs 10x. 10x every single time. And that's what I'm worried about with these digital currencies, is exactly what you were just saying. How are you going to run off with $40,000 worth of gold? And that ties into what you're saying about things being at this fixed price with these collectibles. They're really worth one thing, but in the government's eyes, it's still worth, what is it still worth?
$42.22 on an ounce of gold. Although I do want to back up, and I do want to address your comment about jewelry, because while there is a tremendous markup in there, like I have a necklace that I bought shortly after I moved to Arizona, so probably about 1987, and it's a nice, heavy, thick gold chain, short gold chain, and I paid $350 for it.
Okay.
Today, this was even before the run in the spot gold market, because we need to talk about that for sure.
Okay.
I recently had it appraised at about $6,500.
Wow.
And that's just by the weight.
Okay, wow.
Okay, so people need to understand that gold and silver in any form at all is monetary at its base. And even though if you paid $30,000 for a piece and you go to sell it to a jeweler, there are better ways to do it, honestly. But if you were, they're just going to give you the weight of the gold, at least you've got some value in there. Because currencies, fiat money and stocks, they do and they can go to zero.
When we come back from the break, we're going to actually talk about that. I've got some stories that I think you're going to really like. And we'll see you after the break.
Do you have an old heating and cooling system in your home or business? Does it struggle to keep up in the middle of the summer and not really heat up your rooms in the winter? Hot spots, cold areas, dead zones with no airflow? Sound familiar? Klein Heating and Cooling has a solution. We offer a comprehensive free inspection to assess your exact needs in Arizona's demanding climate. This holiday and winter season, treat your family and home to the gift that keeps on giving. Comfort and savings year after year. Rising equipment prices aren't slowing down, but you can make the best investment now. Don't miss this opportunity to beat the increase. Call Klein Heating and Cooling today at 602-377-6520 and schedule your free inspection. That's 602-377-6520. Visit kleinheatingcooling.com for more information and to book online. Again, that's kleinheatingcooling.com, your solution for total comfort in every room and every season.
And before the break, me and Lynette, we were talking about jewelry. and how back in 1987 you bought a $350 piece and it was appraised for $6,000.
About $6,500, and that was before the recent run in spot, which doesn't mean anything. Those are contracts. So all that volatility that everybody's been seeing lately, that is, you brought up shorts before, selling something that you do not own. Large corporations or entities will do that to push the price down. So then they go in and they buy it back at that lower price. And the difference between what they sold it for and what they buy it for is what they make. But with spot gold there's so many things that's happening. But with spot gold running like that, that was a big problem because it was supposed to go down, but it was going up. So they had to close out those short positions once Microsoft, a bellwether stock, did a major dump, right? That dropped recently. 11%. Yeah, last Friday, actually.
Yeah, I remember.
Right? And that's all about collateral and trusted collateral losing confidence. This whole thing is a con game.
Absolutely.
Right? Every con game needs new money and it needs confidence.
When these con games collapse, and this is throughout history, we've seen it many times, even recent. My wife is, obviously we're Jewish, but she's of Iraqi origin. Her mom's family, you could probably tie back between the first and the second temple, how long they've been there in Bavel and in Babylon in these times. When they left Iraq, they actually were very wealthy there. They lived very well. And there was pogroms and riots that happened. And what do they do? And another couple family friends of mine from Iran and Iraq also that I knew in California, every one of them who had to leave, they literally just emptied the jewelry box, went into a sack.
Exactly.
And then rinse, wash, repeat. That's why I talk about on this show, you guys have to also have skills. And we're not living in a fear. We're not living in a fear. This is all positioning. When there's Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I'll get you some of his. He's intelligent too, and he's got Thou Shalt Prosper, and he has a book that talks about like some of this wisdom as well that we're going over. But I just wanted to throw that in there because when people say like, "Well, I just spent $5,000 on a piece of jewelry. How do I know it's really worth that?" The biggest thing on our hand is time. That we have time and a consistency where we keep chipping away at this.
Yes, but you also then brought up something else, which is how do you know how much anything is worth? What is the true fundamental value of every asset that there is? The Federal Reserve Education Department on the purchasing power. Have you gone on there and noticed on the left-hand axis that from the dollar on the top, you see a big fat zero on the bottom, and officially, we are at 3 cents out in terms of purchasing power out of that original dollar. That's official.
I've heard when people say we've lost 99% or 90+% of our purchasing power. I heard stories. I have the gift of obviously immigrant family. When they left, it was in Germany before Weimar was in full swing, but it was already obviously in bad times. Right. What do they do? They would come here. They would be able to rebuild themselves, sound money, but the dollar was worth something back then. But Weimar at the same time, fast forward a few years later, wheelbarrows of money, people were buying blocks of real estate for ounces of gold.
25 ounces. Would buy an entire city block, buildings and all. Wow. And we will see that again. I've done a lot of studies because even though people talk about the Weimar Republic, and it is really probably the most well-known case of hyperinflation, it's not the worst case of hyperinflation at all.
You interviewed Javier Correa.
Yes.
I've probably watched that interview like 10 times. I work with him now because of that.
Excellent.
Just trying to position. I'm globally positioning things because I see where things are going.
Yeah.
And his interview, I recommend to anybody, go on Lynette's YouTube page and look up, Rothbard Group, I think is what he calls it. Insane interview. It'll go much into depth.
I love him.
His stories on what it was like in Venezuela, like it can't happen here.
Well, what is happening in Venezuela right now, because his mom and family is still there. So they're still experiencing it, but similar to what you said, this was a wealthier family.
Yes.
And globally on average, I mean, there is no doubt. Look, I've studied currencies and currency life cycles since I was a stockbroker at Shearson in 1987.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So I don't really, I mean, I know that there are people that know a lot more about this stuff than I do. I haven't met them yet, but I know they exist. They must exist if I know this, right? And it's just history. It's just a repetition of history.
Yes.
But when you look at it, what you see are patterns, repeatable patterns. So at Zang Enterprises, for myself, before I even started doing this, I developed a strategy based on those repeatable patterns.
When we come back from the break, we're going to go over these patterns and see where we are in modern day history here in America and the rest of the West. See you after the break.
Do you have an old heating and cooling system in your home or business? Does it struggle to keep up in the middle of the summer and not really heat up your rooms in the winter? Hot spots, cold areas, dead zones with no airflow sound familiar? Klein Heating and Cooling has a solution. We offer a comprehensive free inspection to assess your exact needs in Arizona's demanding climate. This holiday and winter season, treat your family and home to the gift that keeps on giving. Comfort and savings year after year. Rising equipment prices aren't slowing down, but you can make the best investment now. Don't miss this opportunity to beat the increase. Call Klein Heating and Cooling today at 602-377-6520 and schedule your free inspection. That's 602-377-6520. Visit kleinheatingcooling.com for more information and to book online. Again, that's kleinheatingcooling.com, your solution for total comfort in every room and every season.
So before the break, me and Lynette, we're talking about patterns. And a lot of these patterns, what do we see going on? Lynette, what patterns do you see at the moment that really actually concern you the most?
Oh, wow. Geopolitical and the loss of privacy. But a typical pattern around a currency reset event, and what a currency reset event is, just so people are clear on it. When one currency dies, another one is born, right? But you've got to go through a reset into that new system. Okay. Now, physical gold and silver in your possession, because if you don't hold it, you don't own it, regardless of your perception. It's if you go to a court of law, that's what's going to matter. Gold and silver hold your purchasing power intact to get you from one side of this reset to the other side of the reset. And also, we were talking about the Weimar Republic, have the opportunities that do present as all of this debt and leverage gets inflated out of the system, right? If you're holding your purchasing power with gold, you'll be able to convert into those, income producing assets that are then, right now they're not, they're overvalued, but they would be severely undervalued, so that on the other side of this reset, not only have you sustained your standard of living through it, but you're actually in a better position on the other side of it.
Okay. Something that to kind of have people understand what it is we're talking about. 1994, Mexico, I think they had a revaluation of their currency.
Indeed.
And someone at your firm that I'm working with, he had mentioned a good thing to me that kind of put it in perspective. And he went and said, he was like, so I had a guy who had 300,000 pesos. And in overnight, they cooked off the last three zeros, which only gave him 300 pesos. So he said with that 300 pesos, he went across the street and had some tacos and a Coca-Cola, and that was it. Like years just wiped away. And I want people to understand exactly what it is that we're talking. Like that is in layman's terms probably the best. Where else have we seen that in recent history?
In recent history?
Yeah.
Well, Venezuela has been hyperinflating their currency since 2006 is when I started following it. Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Egypt, Turkey.
We were just in Turkey, by the way. It's great if you have the dollar, at least for now. But Turkey was insane in how people would make, let's say, the equivalent of $1,000 a month but the living costs are like $4,000. It's with the way the money
Exactly.
exchange is, people really have a hard time. Lebanon, we saw where Lebanon.
That would be another place.
Yeah,
I mean, there are lots of places around the world that are hyperinflating.
In Lebanon too, like they literally went to a gold standard where people were like taking a tooth out to buy like lamb. Like,
Okay, but that's not putting what I want to do is put the entire global currency system on a redeemable gold standard. What you're explaining is what always happens, that like in Zimbabwe, the able-bodied go out and pan for flakes of gold. And things are priced in Venezuela. Things are priced in their Venezuelan bolivars, but then they're also priced in terms of how many grams of silver and how many grams of gold. So this is what happened. And we saw it not that long ago in the sovereign debt crisis in Europe, where people were surviving, and in Greece, people were surviving by pulling out their silver jewelry, their gold, etc. And that's why it's so important to understand. Really, gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base, whether it's junk or it's a super high quality piece.
And you know how people they'll also, because we know there's a finite amount. And,
Correct.
And what people also kind of tend to forget is there is a large amount of infrastructure that has to go into it in order to pull this stuff up out of the ground.
Oh yes,
it's not immediate. Just like everyone's excited now with all the oil that they're able to start getting from Venezuela, it's the same thing. There is a massive amount of money that needs to be poured into that. And the thing that I worry about here in the West is we got too comfortable for too long, and a lot of this stuff just went by the wayside. And how are we going to be able to get up to speed when you have competition, on other geopolitical forms?
Well, I'm going to tell you, but you asked about these repeatable patterns. It's always civil rights, some level of civil rights, right? It's always seems to be some level of female civil rights and the loss thereof. It's always war. And I'm telling you, if we may not officially be in World War III, but you look at all the wars around the world and what the U.S. is doing to, I don't know, potentially antagonize a war. Okay. So it's all about distraction. There's always something about energy that happens.
Yeah.
Right. And the point is, what have we been experiencing but a lot of chaos, right?
Yeah.
So I was there in the 60s and the 70s. I was a teenager, so I can't say that I fully understood what was happening, but the level of energy and what happened at Kent State and what's happening in Minnesota. And my sister, Elena, was actually billy clubbed in Kent State.
Really?
Yep. I mean, she survived it, not, she wasn't where they shot into the crowd and killed protesting students. But, as soon as I saw that, my first reaction was, oh, my God, it's Kent State.
Yeah, it's interesting. No matter where somebody falls, even on the side of the issue, that doesn't matter. When you're in the thick of it, as we're in the thick of these things going on right now, you can become the victim very easily. Even if you support or don't, so whatever is going on, you can easily fall by the wayside. And that's why I wish people would really focus on positioning ourselves so we're not victims in any of this. So when you come out on the other side, you can really, really, come out ahead. And that can build generational, structure and wealth for the future.
Well, absolutely. But here's the other big piece. And I have really actually, when 2008 hit, remember, Shearson was my alma mater, so I was watching that like a hawk. And I was surprised. I was shocked when they let it go. But I was also getting ready to retire at that point.
Really?
And yeah, so I had a little 2-bedroom condo that I could just lock the door and off I go. But 100%, I'm telling you, there's not one doubt in my mind, but the system died in 2008 and then was put on QE life support, free money printing. So, to get into position to transition us into a new system. And I personally do not think that it was a coincidence that Bitcoin was born in January of 2009 and quantitative easing, that free money, like they were doing it, was born in March of 2009.
I love that you brought that up, that word QE, lives rent-free in my head in an angry way, because I was dating someone at the time, and she was going to ASU. She would say, "No, QE, it's good, it's good," and I'm not making nothing to do with politics, because I talked earlier in the show, and I could probably pull it up. I've watched multiple administrations, completely different ideology, all do the same thing. It's insane.
Yeah.
Trillions and trillions of dollars in shorter periods of time are being printed up. We went, I think the difference now from '08, which is scary enough, because that was horrible for me. I was like, for
a lot of people, and they didn't actually get over it, but the socialist movement was born during that time.
Exactly. With, what was it, Occupy?
Occupy Wall Street, and I wish that I had as big a voice then as I do now, because it was a global movement, which is what I'm working on creating again. But they didn't know what they were fighting for.
I wish,
just
by the
like
way,
the socialists, they don't really know what they're fighting for.
Well, they can be manipulated very easily.
They're talking rent control. It's not flipping rent control. It's money control.
Exactly. I remember Peter Schiff when he went down there and he was like, "I'm the 1%, debate me." Did you ever see that one?
I didn't see that one.
YouTube it, and to all the listeners, YouTube it as well, because I guarantee you if he were to go do that now, it's probably a life risk. I wish you were more popular back then, because that type of education is the sad truth that, you got people that, TikTok and stuff like that on these phones. It's just a brainwashing mechanism that the Chinese don't allow. They have a different version of TikTok.
Well, but wait a minute. Governments can't control the internet, can they?
Well, we saw during
all
Corona.
Of this stuff.
We saw Corona.
We're seeing it right now. We're seeing it in Iran, where they shut down the entire internet.
Yeah.
Right? So, and there are no workarounds. And that means that if all you're on is digital and all of your wealth is intangible in the system, you have no access, period.
How do you feel, though, in a situation like that? Do you think it's still a good idea to have $5,000-$10,000 hard dollars?
I think you should have, look, people ask me all the time, well, what percentage of your wealth should you have in gold and silver? Well, should is never a good word, because I can tell you anything. The real question is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? That's the real question. And I am 100% in, along with my mantra, because you obviously cannot eat gold and silver, though you can convert it into food.
Yes.
But my mantra that I developed since 2008, when everything changed, is food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And honestly, when you start to read the developmental pieces, when the governments or the central banks want to take us in a new system, it really is like so eye-opening. And, every time I talk about this, I do not want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying, because my mother always worked, and she was born in 1915, and I have always worked. But they knew that by creating enough inflation, and when they were going completely off the gold standard, that this was going to get more rapid, this loss would get more rapid, that it was going to force the women into the workforce and separate the families so that the government would have more control.
Absolutely. Okay? And more of a tax revenue to pump these unfunded liabilities.
Perfect. Yeah. So today we are so polarized. And if you don't think exactly the way I think, I hate your guts.
Yes.
And so what I've really come to understand, even though community had been in my mantra since the beginning, it is arguably the single most important thing that I really talk about, bringing people together.
I can't agree with you any more than that. Specifically, and I don't want to say too much for security reasons, but people know that I'm openly Jewish, Orthodox, the black hat crowd, that kind of thing. And that's the one thing when people wonder why we're able to have such a high rate of success. It's exactly that. It's community. It's, hey, I know Shlomi, he bought a apartment complex. You're the AC guy, okay? And then the other guy, he's the plumber. We're going to bring him in. We're going to build this thing out. Obviously they work with the banks because of funding and whatever, and then you get the maintenance contracts, and it just duplicates every single time. And I feel like that's what's missing in the American populace. Is it used to be like that?
Yep.
It used to be, okay, my neighbor's making 60,000, I'm making 50. That's something I should achieve. Now it's become, like you said earlier about socialism. Hey, why can't I make 60,000? I had a kid, unfortunately. Also, he said to me one time in the community, he was like, yeah, but like the employees need to make as much as you're making. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, because if the business goes out, they don't have a job. I was like, yeah, but they're not holding all the potential debt. They're not holding all the potential risk. And that's kind of the psychology, unfortunately, of this this society that we're morphing into. Real quick, as the show is coming to an end, Lynette, where can people find you?
Well, we actually have an office in Midtown, and so we don't accept walk-ins, but they can definitely call. Do we have the local number? Because I do not know that off the top of my head. Yeah. Okay, well, we do have a Zang Enterprises, and very prolific on YouTube. If you just search Lynette Zang, you will totally find me. Yeah. I'm out there, and all Instagram, Facebook, all of the socials, but it's Zang Enterprises.
Yes. No, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I've been following you for years. I knew somewhere between 2008 until Corona hit. But yeah, it makes sense you said 2016 earlier. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. You have a lot of people who, in my personal life, who love you.
Oh, so, thank you so much.
But that's it for the show today. We'll be talking next week. I also have a special guest. He will be coming on, fire instructor and former Marine Corps Colonel Freddie Blish. Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks for tuning in for The Blue Collar Jew, sponsored by Klein Heating and Cooling. Be sure to join us next week as Tomer Klein tackles the pressing issues of today. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. right here on 960 The Patriot.
Let's talk letters, starting with C. C is for Camry and Corolla. C is for comfort, control, and cruising through everyday valley life. Now let's try another one. T. T is for Tundra and Tacoma. T is for tough, thrilling, and taking on whatever the day throws your way. Different letters, different strengths, but they both spell out the same thing, Toyota. Right now, get 4.99% for 60 months on a new 2026 Camry or Corolla, or get 2.99% APR financing for 72 months on a 2025 Tacoma SR5 or 2026 Tundra. See your Valley Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places. 4.99% financing with $1,887 per thousand bar for 60 months. 2.99% financing with $1,519 per thousand bar for 72 months. Zero down payment if you qualify. Offers exclude TRD Pro models and N3 226. See dealer for details.